We have with us the Finance Secretary, Mr. Ashok Lavasa. Sir, many thanks for speaking to us at ET Now. Let me first begin by talking about this report talks about repealing the existing act. Has the government taken any view of sorts on what is going to be the roadmap forward? Will we look at repealing of the act? And in fact, in the upcoming session, can we expect some sort of more clarity on what the new framework is going to be like?
Well, whether the act is repealed or it is amended, keeping in view whatever government new features government wants to introduce in the act. I think that will depend on how the legal framework has to be created. So as long as we reflect the intent of the government in appropriate legal clauses, I don't see too much of a problem in either amending, bringing out some amendments, or coming up with a new act altogether.
While the finance minister did make certain, points clear while he presented the last budget, and they have in a way recommended a few things, can we get more clarity on what the new framework may look like? Will we see a new act? Will we see, changes being made in the existing act? Because this report has been with the government for a long time. Has the government made up its mind on the same?
Well, in a sense, the process of examining this will begin now, because till now government was preoccupied with the new budget that we were preparing, and considering the fact that it was advanced and we were very keen that it should be passed before 31st March. So in that sense, a very historical budget session is just gone past, and we have the appropriation bill, we have the Finance Act, we have everything in place. All the ministries are aware, government departments, they have conveyed to the state governments whatever they had to convey. So in a sense that government was busy in ensuring that the new financial year commences with everything intact. So the examination of the FRBM panel's recommendation actually begins now. And we've made it public. We look forward to whatever suggestions people would like to make on this.
The 3% fiscal deficit roadmap till FY20 and thereafter a 20 basis point reduction. How does that really bode for the Indian economy given our developmental needs?
You see, much depends on how the Indian economy grows. And nobody can dispute the fact that in a country as big as India, with multiple demands on the resources, the social sector, the rural development sector, the infrastructure sector, all these sectors, they demand a lot of investment. So the expectation of public spending, and there are many sectors where government will have to continue to spend. Right. So these sectors do require a lot of resources to be deployed by the government, which government tries and does to the extent the resources are available. So the way we are looking at it is that the sectors which lead to infrastructure development, the sectors that lead to employment growth, the sectors that lead to improving the lifestyle in the rural areas, providing them the basic infrastructure support that is required, the sectors like agriculture which require a lot of investment, the ways in which you deal with droughts and other calamities. So these are all priorities of the government, and government would like to find the resources to spend in these sectors.
But let me also ask a very important point, and that of the rating agencies, because they do not take fiscal deviation of any sort very kindly. So before the government takes any final view on the roadmap, longer term roadmap, what is it that you will tell the rating agencies at this point of time about how India is doing, and whether at all will the government undertake a fiscal deviation given the growth needs?
Well, we expect the rating agencies to be realistic, and we expect them to make assessments and evaluations based on the overall situation in the country and look at the fundamentals of the Indian economy and not do a poor rating.
Right. Also one very important issue, and that of a fiscal council. A fiscal council was suggested even by the Finance Commission, and now, by the FRBM panel report. why is there a need of a fiscal council? Do you believe the existing framework that we have, cannot take a view independent of how, things should work, at least fiscally? And will the government really go ahead and, have an independent authority or independent members on the board of this fiscal council?
See, the entire rationale of this recommendation will be understood only after we examine the details of the report. But in the process of decision making in the government, a consultative process has its own merit. And if it is felt that a body of people, experts, who can independently apply their mind and look at the various requirements, look at the other developments which need to be factored in. So that perhaps could be the reason why they suggested a body like this. So as I said, that government is open to adopting a consultative process. Government accepts advice in many situations, and it takes the advice of better counsel whenever decisions are taken. So per se, I don't say that the idea of having a council is a bad idea. But what will be the advantage, specific advantage which we derive from this institutional arrangement, that we'll have to look into.
Will only be understood at a later point of time. But also, the fact that this report does highlight the issue of debt sustainability as well. What is going to be the roadmap that the government will follow on the same?
You see, debt sustainability and maintaining fiscal deficit, I think they are part of the same overall approach. And debt sustainability parameter is something which has been talked about in other parts of the world also. Government is quite conscious of the fact that states must, and Government of India must maintain a debt level which we can sustain. So I don't think there is any dispute about the debt sustainability parameter. And in the overall scheme of things, of maintaining fiscal discipline, both fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, and debt sustainability will have to be kept in view.
I also want to check with you, sir, on the issue of, what happens to the states, because the government, the center will be given some sort of a leeway on fiscal deficit, but what happens to the states? How will states be, how will we look at the states' fiscal deficit being taken into account?
I think the way in which Government of India and the state governments interact with each other, there is a very constructive arrangement within which the fiscal deficit is maintained. Right. States, as you know, have their own acts. So they are one source of regulating the state's conduct in terms of maintaining fiscal deficit. The borrowing limits of the states are something which Government of India looks at and agrees to. So I think there is a fairly effective arrangement that is available in our scheme of things, where the debt levels of states are also maintained at a reasonable level.
So there will be no leeway for, for that matter, for the states. Can we keep that into account?
You see, the overall discipline
is important.
And at the end of it, the debts of the states and the debts of the center, all of it has to be maintained within reasonable limits.
All right, sir. Thank you so much.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.